We got to talk about a guy up next who thinks he's definitely among the top 32 at his position. And the way that he's asking for money, he thinks he's probably in the top three. That being James Cook. The Buffalo Bills have done a great job this offseason. They've dished out a lot of money to their young players. They've been able to go out there and secure some relatively team-friendly deals with guys like Khalil Shakir, Greg Rousseau, Terrell Bernard. So there's money that's being spent there. But one of the guys that has not gotten that money is James Cook. There's been a whole lot of reports about him saying $20 million. I want to be able to get this. And there's a little bit of connective tissue here to some of these guys that are holding out. The agent that we see with James Cook also happens to represent somebody that we have spoken about a little bit earlier. Ari, can you walk us through what's going on here with James Cook, how his representation might be impacting what's going on with this deal, and just overall as to whether we think that we're going to see him on the field once training camps turns around?
Yeah, so let's just preface this. James Cook is an outstanding player, had an unbelievable year last season, and definitely deserves to get paid. But when you look at what the Buffalo Bills did this offseason, they've been extending players left and right. James Cook was also on the priority list, and they definitely spoke to him. But they extended Christian Bedford, they extended Gregory Rousseau, Terrell Bernard, Khalil Shakir, and of course the big one was Josh Allen. When they went to James Cook, they wanted to do a deal, but it was not near the top of the running back market, but it was pretty good money, especially for a player who has not been making much money in the NFL so far. But his agents, again, they were asking for a number that was way above where the Bills were going to be comfortable with. And when that happened, GM Brandon Beane essentially said, all right, we'll maybe revisit you later, but we'll take care of everybody else right now because they're willing to be in the ballpark with our numbers. And that's kind of where it all ended. So this agent, again, same agent as Jamar Stewart, same agent as J.K. Dobbins, who was a free agent all offseason long because he wanted too much money as well. So they've been asking for too much money, and that has been the problem. Now, he did report to mandatory minicamp because, as he said in his own words, James Cook said, I don't like losing my money. If he didn't show up, he would have been fined up to $100,000 for missing 3 days. So he showed up. I could see him, based off those words, showing up to training camp, but being a hold-in, but not only being a hold-in, but maybe creating some sort of distraction while being there, whether it's him or his agent or saying something or speaking or tweeting or whatever it is. They're going to do something because they want to get paid. I mean, this is the same agent who also had, Dalvin Cook, his brother, and that negotiation in Minnesota was a very long one when he became a free agent, when he signed with the Jets. The entire process before that was a very, very long one. So this is far from over, but James Cook has been looking to get near the top of the running back market, and the initial asking price was the top of the running back market. And that is simply not going to happen with this Buffalo Bills team, which has a lot of very big contracts. And most importantly, all those other players I mentioned before, they all took pretty team-friendly contracts to get paid. And they were going to negotiate something like that with James Cook, but his people were like, no chance, we're not doing it. And that's kind of where the talks ended up going.
Hey guys, just taking a quick break to tell you, hey, just over 50% of you are still unsubscribed to Check the Mic. It helps the channel. It helps to make sure that you don't miss any of our shows. So if you have a chance, hit the subscribe button right now.
How much do you think the running back market is just kind of crazy at the moment? Because between the run of devaluing the running back position and then Derrick Henry being a unicorn, Christian McCaffrey kind of being a unicorn in a different way, and then Saquon Barkley just getting rewarded for his insane season in Philadelphia, like the market is kind of all over the place. You've got these two monster contracts in Saquon and Christian McCaffrey in terms of, average per year and total value and those kinds of things. And then you've got this sort of step down to Derrick Henry where he's got his is unusual because of how much of a unicorn he is. But like the gap between those three effectively and the rest of the league is huge. And even then you've got like a bunch of, even then, like Jonathan Taylor might be the next guy where you're like, okay, he's a sort of complete cornerstone, like elite level running back. But everything else is just kind of chaotic. Like the money's all over the place. It's way away from those top guys. You've got this whole world of everyone sort of knowing the cautionary tales of giving second contracts out to running backs at all. What do you make of the whole marketplace for running backs?
Yeah, it's a complicated one to negotiate sometimes. And there are some teams out there who don't even bother to go to $10 million plus with running backs because they believe they could find one anywhere. Like there are a number of teams around the NFL who believe in that philosophy. And frankly, I believe the Buffalo Bills might be in that boat, because I look at how they've drafted over the years, where they've taken running backs in rounds 2, rounds 3, rounds 4, which includes James Cook and Devin Singletary and some other ones over the years. I look at Joe Shane in New York, who came from Buffalo, who refused to pay Saquon Barkley. I mean, these are GMs who are, close to Brandon Beane, who essentially don't believe in that philosophy, where they believe they can find running backs anywhere in the draft or on the market. So I think that does play a role over here in Buffalo, but they were willing to negotiate over here with James Cook, because not only has he been an outstanding player and a good person, and on the field, off the field, the fans love him. He has a good camaraderie with Josh Allen as well. But the number that they were working with was somewhere in that 10 to 12.5 range. The initial asking price over here was in that 16 to 20. And it was just way too far. It was like, we're not even going to be able to bridge this gap over here, which is why they basically moved on and went to Khalil Shakir and Terrell Bernard and everybody else. So that's kind of where it's been this entire offseason. I do get this impression that James Cook just wants to get paid. So there is a scenario where he might just cave and take whatever is the best offer here. But to this point, that has not happened over here. And we'll see if the agent switches his stance over here, because this agent, like I said before, he's had a number of running backs as his client list. I mean, James Cook, Dalvin Cook, J.K. Dobbins. Like, I think he's realized getting running backs paid is not an easy process in the NFL unless you're the very, very special ones. And as good as James Cook is, I don't think we're putting him with Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey. And that's why I do give a little bit of a hope over here that there is a scenario where they just take a deal over here eventually, just so he gets paid, because he has been on a second-round contract to this point in his career, and of course, he's outplayed that.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.